Hey guys, Brewer Hicklen here, outfielder for the Gwinnett Stripers.
Hicklen on the run, dives and makes the catch. Brewer Hicklen sliding to his knees. Track near the wall goes. Hicklen leaps at the wall, and he's got that ball.
I'm so excited about Faith and Family Night 2026 this year. Thanks for joining us. You'll be able to kind of get an insight on some of myself and some of my teammates behind the scenes and what we're doing and how Christ has been moving throughout the locker room and throughout the season.
Brewer, thanks for being here with us. Excited to talk to you ahead of Faith and Family Night a little bit about your faith. And the first question that I think I'd ask you is, how has the platform of being a professional baseball player allowed you to exemplify your faith, allowed you to live out your faith, whether that be the highs of your faith, or the challenges, or anything in between?
Yeah, I mean, obviously being a professional athlete, you automatically have a platform just by the way in which your job entails. I mean, you're playing in front of thousands of people every night. So I know with that responsibility, I need to take that not with a grain of salt, and to, obviously be able to express my faith in the way that I love and the way that I have peace and handle certain situations. So, it's really cool to hear some of the conversations just from people hearing my walk-up song or hearing how I talk to fans, and just the way that God's been able to kind of move and orchestrate things throughout my entire career. Being on, 5, 6, 7 different teams, I've obviously been and traveled around the United States a lot, but one thing for me remains the same, and that's mission is to share the gospel, and that's something that's really important to me and something that really is at the forefront of everything that I do.
So obviously this game isn't easy, and we talked a few weeks ago that you just had a series recently where you were going through one of those valleys. You go through the peaks and valleys, the ebbs and flows of a season. When things do get difficult, when you do start going through that slump, how does your faith help you stay grounded?
I mean, for me, your faith is your foundation. Baseball, I always say baseball is what I do. It's not who I am. I'm not defined by the stats. And I mean, even the testimony that I plan on sharing kind of on Friday, it really comes down to like who God has called me to be. And it's so easy for us to get caught up in what success in the world looks like. But for me, I just remain steadfast in my pursuit in Him and what He has called me to do. And, some days are obviously easier than others. It's easy when you're, riding your high out there and you're playing well and you don't really have to worry about it, because at the end of the day, it is a job and it's what provides for my family. But I know that if I just steward the gifts that God's given me well, that He's going to continue to open doors that need to be open and close doors that I shouldn't go through. So I just try to remain steadfast in that approach.
Yeah, you talked about your family as a husband and as a father. How has having that family changed your mindset overall about baseball, about life in general, and with your faith?
I mean, my family is everything to me. I had a mentor of mine when I had my first son. He said, "Man, is it not amazing how much you love your son?" And I said, "Yeah." He says, "Well, what's even crazier is our Heavenly Father loves you 100,000 times more than that." And it's really hard to fathom that kind of love, because I know the love that I have for my kid, from both of my kids. And so, it's something that really just grounds you. It really makes you appreciate what you have. And to be able to have, my kids in the stands watching Dad, be disciplined in what he does, go out there, sometimes get his face beat in, but handle it with class and dignity, but also show him how to have success and how to handle that as well. It's been really cool.
You talked about baseball being what you do and not who you are. When people come to the ballpark, what do you want them to see about Brewer Hicklen outside of batting average, home runs, all of those things?
It's a great question. I think when they look at Brewer, I think number one, they need to see a son of God. I'm not perfect by any stretch. There's days that, I tend to be more generous or more positives than others. But, when somebody watches Brewer play, I just want them to see a man that is after God's heart, using the incredible gifts that God has given me and my platform to be able to play the game of baseball and just glorify Him every step of the way, both through the peaks and through the valleys. And I try to do that in the way that I interact with people. It's always kind of funny. People obviously make really quick assumptions when you don't stop to sign or whatever. And it always kind of makes me chuckle, because it's like, I would stop and talk to everybody if I could.
Right.
But you just have thousands of people that are asking for you. So it's just really a matter of just going out and letting people make their own judgment on what they think you are and the way that you play.
What Bible verse do you think that you cling to the most and that you think that you can align with your career and what you do?
Man, lately it's not really as much of a Philippians 4:13 verse.
Right.
I've been in Romans 3, and it's we've all sinned and fallen short of the glory of God, and fortunately, by the grace of Jesus Christ, we've been saved. And so, I've really just been wrapping my head with the thought that sin breaks God's heart, and sin came at a cost, and understanding that cost. And so, I've really just been trying to understand that each and every day, I need to lay Brewer aside and try to be a disciple and to try to be more like Jesus. And like I said, man, some days are easier than others, but I'm just trying to serve my teammates, serve the fans, and ultimately serve my family with that perspective.
If there's one time in your career that you could pinpoint where your faith and your family came into play and really helped keep you afloat and overcome, what do you think you'd point to?
I mean, I look at this season, man. I attribute a lot of my success to the fact that they're around. Last year was one of the hardest years of my career. My wife was pregnant. I didn't see my kid at one point for like 7 weeks. And it was really, really difficult for me to try to rationalize, my absence in the pursuit of something that was obviously important to me in the game of baseball. And so just having them here, having them available, and being able to, walk out of the locker room after an 0 for 4 day or a 4 for 4 day, and I walk into that room and my son goes, "Daddy," every single night. And it's really, really special for me.
So, kind of on that same note, what is your favorite baseball memory that includes your family, even if it has nothing to do with anything that happened between the lines?
I mean, honestly, I love just watching my son grow in the way that he views the game. Every night, he's asking who's playing, what position I'm playing. He's only 2.5 years old, and just to watch him be a sponge and absorb so many of these moments. And, we love coming on the outfield and playing after the games. On the off days, we'll be on the outfield playing. And just flipping balls with him and just watching his passion and love for the game, kind of align with what I feel. It's so easy these days. Parents are trying to push, and I'm just a dad that just wants my kid to do what he loves and play hard. Obviously, I want him to be disciplined in his approach, but I don't want to force him to do anything.
Right.
And, it's kind of a countercultural travel ball thing right now. It's like we need to play baseball all year, spend all this money. Like, I don't really have that perspective, man. I just want my kid to go out and play as many sports as he can. Each sport has a lesson of its own. I mean, baseball to me is probably the best way to learn life lessons. You're getting punched in the face 70% of the time. How do you handle that adversity? What's the foundation of what you do? Why do you do what you do? And all those are questions that you ask yourself every day when you get in, in the box.
Brewer, I want to finish it off with this question. What would you say to the younger generation of baseball players in regard to managing their faith through the ups and downs of the most difficult sport in the world?
Man, that is a loaded question. If I were to speak to a kid that feels like baseball is everything, I see so many parents go after their kid because their son fails at a sport that they're already geared to fail toward.
Right.
And, first and foremost, what would I say to the parent is I would look at their son, put their arm around him, and I would say, "Son, I'm proud of you. If they're working hard, if they're being disciplined, and they're trying the best that they can, it's okay if they fail, because that failure ultimately is going to lead to them to be able to grow and ultimately have success down the line." And to the son, I mean, the one that's discouraged, the one that feels like they're not good enough, it's just daily reps each and every day, showing up, having fun, being positive, and ultimately you got to be a good teammate. I was provided so many opportunities in my life because of the teammate that I was. I wasn't always the most skilled person. I wasn't always the fastest. I wasn't always the strongest, but I always tried to love on my friends, and I wanted to see them have success. And so if I could tell them that, man, just stay rooted in that and ultimately realize that God has a plan for your life. It's so easy to get consumed in the fact that your stats are on the scoreboard, you're batting 3-hole, you're batting 9-hole. None of that really matters in the grand scheme of things. What matters is to realize that you are a son of God, that you're chosen, that He has anointed you, that He sent His one and only Son, Jesus Christ, to die on the cross for you. And man, what an opportunity for us to realize that, accept that, and walk with our chest sticking out and our shoulders high, because man, we really, really have somebody looking out for us.
Absolutely. Very well said, Brewer. Awesome to have you here and glad to talk to you. And we can't wait to see you guys here at Faith and Family Night here at Gwinnett Field.
See you guys there.